My first experiences as a peer reviewer were related to the intrinsic quality of the paper, grammar, internal coherence, academic style of writing. However, over the years, I became more interested in the position from the reader's point of view. Why? Because I became to think about how is the contribution to each paper to readers' concerns, readers' interest. What can this paper bring to the scientific community? These positions gave me more resources to suggest authors different point of improvement to their papers, because sometimes they are manuscript that they are excellent, but they don't have relevance to scientific community. So my role were transformed into a bridge between the research, the paper, and the interest of the journal or reader's interest. It was along the year I learned how to suggest more interesting points to the author in order to be published.
I really cannot remember my first experience, but I will try to give a brief idea about that. So it was long ago. It was probably a terrible review. I probably wrote a long dot point list of all the things that are wrong with the paper. But I do remember that over the years and over the time, it was my peer reviewing work that allowed me to develop a really good working relationship with editors, practitioners, and researchers. And since then, I have offered the authors constructive recommendations on how they could improve their books and their articles and their manuscripts as a whole. So peer reviewing for me, I think that peer reviewing helped me position myself as a senior confirmed editor. And now I feel very happy and privileged to be able to contribute to Enago in this way. For me, Enago was always an excellent fit with the kind of work I was doing as a peer reviewer.
I do remember my first peer review. It was in 2008, and at that time we didn't have the online web system that we have today. But I don't think of any major difference between what I did at that time and what I am doing now. So I think there has not been great changes, at least in my specific area.
I do remember my first peer review experience a little bit. It was for a Canadian cultural history journal, and it was a double-blind peer review situation where I was asked to review a manuscript that was a relatively short article and to answer a series of general questions about the research quality of the manuscript. For instance, how original it was, what the state of the manuscript was relative to similar scholarship. And I filled out about 1 or 2 pages answering those general questions. Since then, I've done some peer review for book publishers, and the main change that I've noticed is a growing interest in a global audience, where the book publishers now ask you for things like what areas in the world would be interested in this manuscript, and what areas should we consider marketing the manuscript to. Which makes sense if you think about it, because books and journals are becoming much more available to a global audience. The other change that I've noticed is a growing interest in having standardized questionnaires to fill out, where whenever you get asked to review something, you get a general question that such as what is the research quality, and then a set of categories to fill out. Some publishers still go with a freestyle format where you come up with your own categories, but more and more there's an interest in standardizing for facilitating comparison of manuscripts and also just making the whole publishing process faster.
So the first paper I reviewed took me time. Understanding what I needed to do as a reviewer was not easy. But once I understood the rules, what I needed to do, then I started, understanding the process. And how I did that is putting myself in the shoes of the author. That is being author-led, understanding what they're writing about from their perspective and not having a sort of bias, and not judging the author and reviewing their work on the direction that they want to take their submission. Right now, because of the experience that I've had over the years, the first thing I do, I just, take a glance and, look at the work. And before I make the comments, I'm able to see what an author wants to achieve, and trying to keep abreast of the subject matter. What is happening, the new trends, new methodologies, and current gaps in the areas that I review. Now, how it has transitioned over the years, the first research that I went through as a reviewer, it was just about giving an opinion, just saying, what do you think about this? However, over the years, it has changed so much, and scholars want to see more. So if you say my paper needs to be redone, or I need to work on my paper, what do I need to work on? So the focus on quality, has really, come out, and the issues of single blind or double blind review, and it is still common to see single blind review, double blind review, but we have been seeing a lot of alternative approaches, the need for other review methods that possibly would make the review process better, such as the open review. So when I think about where we've come from and where we are now, there is a big improvement, but more needs to be done. And when I talk about single blind review, for instance, there have been criticisms of, maybe a reviewer can be very harsh when they are giving their opinion. The double blind can allow a reviewer to be honest and say, what they think. And alternative approaches like the open review, where you both know, the author knows the reviewer, it can help in giving better reviews. However, at times, reviewers would decline this because it may curtail their ability to give reviews as they would like. So yeah, there has been an improvement over the years, and yeah, reviews are happening, and we are still getting published and publishing papers around the world.
So my first time as peer reviewing was during my first postdoc. I found it pretty hard at this moment, as the research group I was reviewing a paper for had a really high quality paper track, but this paper I had been asked to review was not correct, notably on several procedures that they used that were totally in my field, and notably in neurodevelopment. And I didn't really like not being able to discuss with them to understand why they had chosen the protocols they had followed, and to try to help focusing more on the techniques that were used in the field. But now I appreciate that people can have a proper discussion, notably on open access reviewing systems such as the bioarchive. Like this one really allows scientists to reply to comments and open proper discussions between them. And that really look like what you can see during a conference, where often the conversation is going to start at the end of the presentation with several questions being asked and several scientists on the same field discussing all together.
Veterinary medicine, University of Lloret. So it was interesting as I was able to detect plagiarism in that work. It was actually a previously published work, and the authors just repackaged it and want to republish it in our journal then. And I was able to detect that out of my positive criticism approach. And since then, there has been improvement because that had exposed me to how to detect the lack of plagiarism and how to search more information about the topic of discuss before actually reviewing the paper. So since then till now, that actually I've improved tremendously, and most importantly, when I joined Team Enago in peer review, that had really helped me.